Whenever I get cold call and people start introducing themselves for like 1 minute, I think this is terrible. This is Mr. Na 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 na, and I'm calling from, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I already want to hang up the phone. And then it's like, do you have 5 minutes or something like that? This is usually the worst intro I get.
How long is too long?
To me, even like just the person like introducing themselves and started talking for like 15 to 20 seconds is... I usually just hang up the phone. And the worst thing, I think, is that right now when I get cold call, it puts me on hold at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For like
for the
2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I'm getting cold call and this fucker is not even there, you know?
I don't mind a quick, hey, we're with a sales training company or, we're with telephone company or whatever, just to put it in perspective. Hey, I sell cattle. I mean, at least the person on the other line knows where their head should be. Mm-hmm. But after that, talking, we do this and we do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, for me, I'm like, okay, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you want?
There's no answer.
Sometimes
you buy my product.
No, but sometimes it's true. Like when you ask like, okay, what do you want? Like go straight to the point and people are like, shit, my script.
Yeah.
What do I want is actually like in 6 lines. I need to.
Totally. Well, now you need to respond with, yeah. Well, I've seen that. I think scripts are part of the problem because you always see the binary. They say this, you say this, they say this, you say this.
Interesting that you answered. And like, how many sales reps out there believe that they're selling a solution to a problem or even know that they're like selling a solution to a problem?
None of them view it that way.
Yeah.
But it's because they don't know the problem that their product solves, not because it's not there. Their product does solve a problem, but they haven't been geared to view it that way.
Because to me, this is a huge issue. It's like people reach out to you with in mind their OKRs, which is like how many cold calls should I make per day?
Right.
How many connection? How many meeting book that I should pass to the AE?
Yeah.
And that's it. They don't think about, okay, like I should become an expert in understanding the problem to the solution I'm selling. You can see it through the cold calls. You can see it through the emails.
The questions that I hear on cold calls, usually they get to the pitch and they're like, okay, so what's after the elevator pitch? What comes in after that? And I'm like, it's when it should be like a mini discovery where you're asking them questions to understand, do they have a problem? What's the level of the gravity of that problem? The impact of that problem? Like that should be just a mini curtailed discovery to me that you engage with longer on the other end. So elevator pitch, like the actual term, it's seen as, how have you heard it in normal context?
You get stuck on an elevator with one of your buyers and you got the time till they get to the next fucking floor to tell them what you do.
Totally. Actual impetus of the term elevator pitch was there was a guy, it was back in the late 1800s, and he basically had a factory and he was trying to find a way to get rubble from floor to floor. So he created an elevator, but people were really, really scared because it was a new invention. So he invited people on the elevator to basically show them the problem that it solved. But in doing so, they're like, this would be interesting for people. But his whole goal was to show them the problem that it solved for factory workers.
First.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the term elevator pitch was supposed to be a display of how you solve your problem. So it would take out the sting or like the fear, of what it actually does. And then we've gravitated 100 years later and saying, this is, I get on floor 1 and I'm describing my product. They're like qualifying questions. So they're like, what if you could questions? And I'm like, the questions that you should not be asking are the ones that don't help you uncover if there's a problem. How are you supposed to answer that? If I'm like, what if you could be walking down the beach with...
I hang up the phone.
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to say? That would be wonderful, Dan. Like, it's just jarring to me. So I feel like there's a bigger issue underneath all of that, but it's the questions that people are asking I can feel is the prospect. They're not having a conversation. They're leading somewhere. The punch is coming. I'm just like on the roller coaster.
So what's the leading question?
Personalization, or like at least qualification of the person you reach out to. Lots of people like cold call you and they have almost no idea about who you are, like, or what you've done. It literally takes 3 to 5 minutes to find something about the person you're going to reach out to or on their company. If you can't find anything about the person. For me, if someone doesn't personalize, it's just like, okay, you don't want to build a relationship. You're just here to hit your quota, and that's fine. I think sales is about treating others the way you would like to be treated.
What you're describing is selfishness versus selflessness. So when someone doesn't do the research or doesn't know what you do, then what you end up feeling is their intentions are not for me, their intentions are for them. So then if you believe that they're not calling to help you, but to actually just sell shit to you for themselves, their motivations are self-driven. And if you feel someone's motivations are self-driven, then you don't trust them. If you don't trust them, they don't have credibility. If they don't have credibility, you see no value in them. What you did is you started here, but if we just play that all the way out, right, what happens almost instantaneously is you get to a place is there's no value in this person for me.
Exactly.
And if there's no value, you're out. It just comes back to, I'm not going to be open up to believe that you can help me if I don't believe your intentions are to help me. So I can't impress enough. Like, everybody gets too caught up in the fucking bullshit. They want to talk about studies and this and that. It's pretty simple. It's a human fucking endeavor, okay? Are you out to help someone and make a difference? Are you out to make a dollar? And if your intention is out to make a dollar, 9 out of 10 people see it. They don't trust you, whether, even if the product does fit, if I know your intention isn't to help me, I'm not interested. And if you go out with a general interest to help people, people appreciate it. And if you know you can't, you don't try. So you don't waste people's time. It's just, we over-engineer shit. Just be human. Just be human, try to help. When you can't help, move on.
The irony to me is, if you had to guess out of both of those sellers, the one that's just after helping someone and the one that is just after pushing things, which one sells more?
The helping person every single time.
That's the irony to me.
Every single time.
Our buyer's goal is to solve a problem. So if we don't have that goal, there's not a pairing that exists. I even asked the seller, I said, let's pick your main competitor. Let's say that you saw them in a conference, you saw a rep. Like, what would you do? And they're like, oh, I'd be nice to them, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, let's put the PC crap aside. Would you tell them your book? Would you tell them who you're talking to and who you're trying to sell and why? And they were like, well, no. And I'm like, why? Like, they could hurt me with that information. I'm like, okay, so time out. Let's talk about your BDR over here. Would you tell them that information? Yeah. Why? They're on the same team. I'm like, right. So asking your buyer to trust you when your goal isn't to solve a problem is like being confident enough to walk up to your main competitor and give them all of your data on who you're selling to. That, to me, is one of the pieces of outbound of why it's broken. On cold calls, is your buyer can feel you're not after solving the problem, so they're like, wash.
Well, you want to get that buyer or that person who picked up the phone, you want them to stay on the phone long enough so that you can demonstrate value for the next call.
Yeah.
But there's value in that.
Yeah.
In that first 5, 7, 8 seconds, can you do something that they say, you know what, there's value. I'll spend 15 seconds with you. I'll spend a minute and a half with you. Is there value? That's the sale. Can I influence your thought process enough that you will give me that time? That is a transaction. Every transaction is consideration, right? And is consideration. So it's a product versus money or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So what am I offering? What am I asking? Every time I'm asking for time and information. Every single time.
Yeah.
So what am I giving? Well, my time and some information that's worth your time.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out that equation, the rest doesn't matter.
The one thing that people usually want from salespeople, bar none, from what I've seen, what I want from salespeople, is for them to go away.
Yeah, it's a way out. Yeah.
So I'm like, there's your bartering chip. How about this? You give me the next 20 seconds to give me my best, whatever, dog and pony show on who we are and why I thought we might be a fit. At the end of that 20 seconds, you can tell me whether you want to continue the conversation from there. Or I've even increased, that had a 95% conversion. When I increase the ante, and I teach them these sometimes of like, if you're about to lose someone, you got to lower that give that they have to give and increase the get. So I'll say, how about this? Let me ask you 2 questions. And after those 2 questions, if I'm still not relevant, I'll never call you again. So I've used 3 of those, if like, I'll never call you again. I won't call again unannounced. And you can tell me whether it makes sense to continue the conversation from
Give
there.
them
And I'm
control.
like, give them buy-in so that they really feel like they have the reins of the conversation and they're getting something from it.
Ownership.
Cold calls I would listen to. When someone tells me like they start straight up, okay, it's a cold call. I just need like 20 seconds. If I don't convince you, I'm out and you'll never hear from me again.
You got
like,
it.
Yeah, 20 seconds, like fuck it. I already
It's
pick
a
up the
low
phone.
cost.
Yeah, it's a low cost. And if you pitch well, I might hire you in the future.
I might learn something.
You never know.